Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Happy Mornings podcast. So, we are actually re-recording this because I had too many technical issues recording on a camera. So, I am deciding to just do an audio recording for this episode. I don't know if this is how it's going to go going forward, because if we continue to just like have technical issues, I'm not going to like deal with the filming, or I just need a better camera. Anyways, so today I am joined by a different guest. I have my fiancé, Jason.
Hi, everyone.
So before we jump right in, we're going to be talking about relationships and like our own personal experiences, as well as the show Insecure. So if you have not already seen the series finale, I do want to mention that there will be major spoilers in this episode of the podcast, just because we're kind of going to be using different of like the storylines and experiences that have happened with each character as like our talking points. So is there anything you want to say before we get into it?
No, just warning, there's a lot of spoiler alerts, so don't be mad at us. But you should also start watching Insecure.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, definitely watch it. I'm going to just kind of cut through a little bit of what we talked about already. But basically, when season 1 came out, Jason and I did not have it, like viewing access to it. So we had to look online and like find different like streaming sites.
Be ghetto about it.
Yeah. Like we couldn't just like watch it on TV.
Yeah, we have to like search up like streaming Insecure online, on Google, like how we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on like HBO Max, how it is now, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so we're happy that it turned out like it got played on HBO Max or picked up, or whatever it is.
No, I think it was always on HBO.
It was always, but we just didn't have access to HBO Max.
Yeah, because it's like it's a newer streaming service.
Yes, that's right.
So I think we only really watched season 1. Like now that I look back at it, I don't really think that I watched season 2. And if I did, I watched a little bit of it. And then I for sure didn't watch season 3 or season 4 until this year, because we obviously did a marathon because of season 5 coming. So we just kind of wanted to make sure that we knew what was going on in the storyline. So just as a recap, season 1 is basically Issa and Lawrence in this, like, I think they were together for 5 years.
5 years.
And so I think Issa was just at a point where she was just like not feeling the relationship. Like I think she just had doubts. Like, is this really what I'm dealing with? Like, is this what I'm gonna?
Is this it? Is this it for her? Like, is this all he has to offer or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I think for me being it, me and Jason have been together for 8 years, and I'm not gonna lie, like I've had many times in the relationship where I was just like unsure. I had a lot of doubt. I was like, is this it? And I think it's normal. So if you're in a relationship, if you've been with someone for like a couple years now or a few years, and you're in that headspace of like questioning, just know that it's normal to feel that way.
Yeah. And even if it's not serious, it's still, like it's normal to question, like, like, is this it for me? Or, or have your doubts. Yeah. Because, like every couple that goes through it, it's, it's normal for them, because I think what it is it's like it's somewhat of like the fear of unknown, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're not too sure if this is the life that they want. Yeah. So it reflects on like, thinking about like, going back, like, am I happy moving forward with this person? Mm-hmm. And, will I, have a successful marriage? Yeah. And so on and so forth.
Yeah. So. And, when we kind of think at the characters overall, I want to mention Molly, because Molly has been a character that, if I'm being completely honest, she's not someone that I've liked for a long time, because she was just that friend that I felt like needed to calm down. Like I just felt that she was too picky, too unrealistic. Like she wanted like to date a person who like had a certain kind of job, made this kind of money, had this kind of like degree. Like I felt like she wanted someone who was equal to her, but like when
her standards were too high.
Yeah, and then I remember there was one guy that she was attracted to, she really liked, and then I think he ended up like working at like a rental car place, and she was like she was like turned off. But it's like I feel like you shouldn't justify picking someone based off of like things that are, oh, this is their job, this is their degree, this is the kind of car they drive. Like I think to a certain extent, yeah, you obviously want to date somebody who has something going on for themselves. But if they're not like a complete bum, like they have a job, they have their own place, they're not like a convicted felon, it shouldn't really matter on, oh, okay, he works at a car rental place.
Just to, like in a girl's perspective, like how do you guys portray that? Like when it comes to that, like, is there like a standard that you guys do look for?
I think it just depends on the person. Because I feel like for me in particular, I never really thought like, oh, the person that I date needs to have X, Y, and Z. But I've come across people who are like that, who are like super, super picky on like what they're looking for. And it's kind of like, are you even like listening to yourself? Because sometimes I'm just like, you're not going to find, this perfect man that is all that you want. And even for men, like I don't think there's going to be like this perfect girl. Like a friend of mine had once told me, in any relationship, it's always going to be 80-20. You're going to find someone who's 80% of what you're looking for, but then there's going to be like that 20% that's missing. And it's like, are you willing to give up that 80% just because you don't have 20%?
Yeah. Just to satisfy your 20% needs. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the next guy you end up dating or the next girl you end up dating is like completely terrible.
Yeah. It's like shitty or an asshole or
a
B word,
Yeah.
Just be careful.
So again, going back to Issa, I think I guess
with her situation.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to say is that with Insecure, I felt that the storylines were very relatable. They were very real. Like, I don't think that it was sugar-coated in the way that a lot of shows were, like, back in the 90s or early 2000s, where you meet someone at a coffee shop and then, like, you fall in love after 2 days, right? Like, there's just, like, these fake love stories that fill our minds. And as we get older, we're like, that's actually not real life. That's actually not how things play out. And so I can appreciate with Insecure that, like, it is real life to be in a 5-year relationship and have doubts and have questions. Yeah. It is real for some people to fucking cheat on their partner and then realize that they fucked up. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden their partner finds out and then they break up. And then, like it's a sour breakup. Like that shit happens in real life. And I think to, continue on that line of like, it's so relatable. And you might not relate to every part of it, but I feel like you can relate to each person's story.
Yeah. Or if you know someone that can be related to, the story or the scenarios that happen in the show Insecure.
And I want to talk about Molly again because she is a character that I hated for so fucking long. Like I just felt like she was just kind of like a snob. And like even when it came to like her job, so again, spoiler alert, when she had left her other firm, right, she found out that she was not getting paid the same amount as her male white counterparts. And she ended up moving to a new firm that's like, mostly, I think, black. I think it's a black firm, basically.
It is a black firm.
And I think she felt more comfortable because she was like, okay, I'm in a space where I feel, like I just fit in. Yeah, I just fit in. But then she was kind of like that new coworker was like, oh, well, at my old firm. We did this. We did. Like, she was just kind of like, I don't know, stuck up.
Yeah. Well, this ain't your new old firm. It's your new firm. So,
and it created tension. And I felt like her other coworkers were kind of like, like they didn't want to be around her because she was like so snobby. But it's just interesting how the coworker that she was kind of feuding with the most, what's his name? Terry? I forgot his name.
I forgot too.
Well, basically at the end of the series, she ends up marrying him. And this is like years later. This is like maybe like 5-6 years later down the road. So spoiler, series finale, she ends up marrying this guy, which is crazy to think because when I just think back at like her her story, I feel like she's grown so much as an individual and especially her perspective on love because, I think there was a turning point for her. I don't remember what season this was, but I remember it was like her parents were having a party. I think it was like their vow renewal or something. And then Molly finds out that her dad had cheated on their mom like years ago. And like she was just so upset. She left. She would like, I think she was like crying and this and this and that. And she was just like, how could you do this? Like she basically had this like false narrative of having a perfect marriage, having a perfect relationship. And I think she based that on her parents' relationship and what she saw.
Yeah. And I think it's also, she's based off her upbringing too, right? Because what, we as kids, what we saw with our parents is what we try to achieve.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I want, like some people will say, oh, I want to find a dude or vice versa. A guy will find a girl like who loves, their partner the way my parents do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's funny that Jason says that because there's been so many instances where like I've heard like guys or girls, like guys, for example, they'll be like, I want to marry a woman who's like my mom. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Or like, or I want to marry a man who's like my dad. And like for a long time, I didn't understand. But then, when you do see parents who are super nurturing, who love their kids, who love their partner, who prioritize their family first, I understand when, adults are like, yeah, I want to marry someone who's like my dad. I want to marry someone who's like my mom. And I get it because the first time that we really grasp the idea of love is from our parents.
Yeah. But then again, it's also our parents rarely say, hey, I love you. Like the way
I think being an Asian,
yes.
like for us, I grew up in an Asian household. I don't remember very often like my parents saying I love you to one another. But I did hear it once in a while.
Yeah, I rarely hear it from my mom, but I do know that she loves the boys more than she loves the girls.
Yeah.
But that could be a different topic. But growing up, I rarely hear it from my mom or from my dad.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like an Asian culture where we don't show that kind of support or emotion like that.
Yeah,
compared
I agree.
to like Americans.
Yeah. And like even like affection, right? Like when I think back growing up, like I don't think my parents were that affectionate with each other, like holding hands, hugging, like kissing, and so
or PDAing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think when we go back to Molly's story, it's exactly like that, right? It's not what we expected, but I think because she grew up where she just saw how her parents were, so she wanted that for herself. But I always tell people like being in a relationship is very painful.
Keep in mind that nothing's gonna be perfect. You won't find that perfect person, but in a sense, where in Molly's situation, it was like a good reality check for her because let's just say if she didn't find out, she's just gonna be in search of that perfect person for her, which which we all know that
there's no such thing.
Yeah, there's no such thing. There's some people out there will say, yeah, I found my perfect guy, but or the perfect gal or whatever it is, and they'll but. You just keep in mind that, like...
I mean, they're perfect for you, right?
Yes, they're perfect for you in a sense, but in the sense of, like, what you picture yourself like, oh, yeah, like, physical traits and all that stuff, too, right?
And I think also it's, like, we just need to realize that we can't always, like, be searching and this and that. And I think that's what was going on with her, because I remember at one point where she was like on some dating app where I think you had to be like exclusive, like to get onto this dating service. And then I think once she was finally on there and she was going on dates with these guys, I don't think she was actually like interested. Like I think she was bored.
Yeah.
Like, but it's the kind of guys that she's looking for. And so, I do want to mention when she is hooking up with Dro. So Dro, is it Dro or Dre? I think it's Dro. They're friends, like longtime friends. He's married. He's in an open relationship. And so like him and Molly are like hooking up or whatever. And I think she was obviously enjoying it. Like her thing is like, okay, like this is someone that I've been friends with. The sex is good. But then at the end of the day, I think she was just battling with the fact that she wasn't the number one woman. And, and I think when you're put into a scenario where, you're dating someone in an open relationship, that's just how it is. Like, you have to set boundaries because...
Yeah, knowing that you will forever be the side piece.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think it's just making sure that there's clear expectations. And so things didn't last with them. It ended. They were just like, let's just go. Well, she was more sour about it. Yeah. And so they went their separate ways. And then she then starts dating Andrew. So this is later on. This is like season 3, where Andrew is a friend of Nathan, who Issa is kind of like talking to. So Andrew is not Molly's like typical choice. And I think the reason being is he's Asian, right? And she's Black. And I think for her, she just always saw herself with a Black guy. And I think she even said that. And so I think that situation is 100% accurate, because when I think of like, Filipino culture, I know that in Filipino culture, if, one of the nieces or nephews is dating someone who's Black, I don't want to say it's frowned upon, but in a way,
it kind of is.
Yeah, like you're like talked about, like in a way of like, oh, they're dating a Black person.
No, I think society has to do with it, where it's like they watch. I think our parents watch too much news, and all like the gossip and all that stuff. Yeah,
but I think it's common in a lot of Asian cultures. I wouldn't say just in Filipino culture, but I think it's slowly becoming more normal. Like, I think interracial relationships have always been around, and obviously back then it was very like. It was frowned upon, right? Whenever like a Black man was dating a white woman or vice versa, they get stared at.
Yeah, they get stared at, and like their kids had to deal with it.
Yeah,
but
because then like their kids are like either too white, like their skin, their complexion is too light, too dark, or too light to be Black, and then they're too dark to be white, right?
Yeah,
that's always how it is. And I think again, going back to like Filipino culture, is like it is different. I think the old school aunties and uncles and like the grandparents expect us to either date someone who's Filipino, or they expect us to date someone who's white.
Yeah.
A white male, because like they're like, they're seen as like prestigious.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where Molly's at. But then it's like, he's a good guy. Like, give him a chance. You don't need to pick someone based off their ethnicity. And obviously things didn't work out between her and Andrew. And I think that had to do with Molly kind of like self-sabotaging, because there was a scene where I don't know if this is like the correct line, but I think he was just like saying, whenever it's something you want to do, like I'm all for it, I'm all about it. But like whenever it's something I want to do, like you're not interested. And so I feel like he felt that he was giving more in the relationship, and she wasn't really like accommodating him.
But in a relationship perspective, there's going to be times where you're giving a lot and you expect something in return, but that's not always the case. Mm-hmm. But, you should always give because it's based on you, right? Based on what you want out of the relationship, not you're doing it because you want something in return.
Yeah.
You should do it from the bottom of your heart.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of want to rewind just a little bit so that we can kind of go back to Issa and Lawrence. So obviously when Issa cheats on Daniel, she doesn't tell Lawrence right away. And so when Lawrence finally finds out, they break up, they go their separate ways. Lawrence kind of gets an STD because he's like, hooking up with hella different girls. I feel like Issa had a hard time navigating the dating scene because it just felt awkward. Like, I don't think she was fully in it, but I think a part of that had to do with the fact that she wanted to be with Lawrence. She wanted to work it out, but he walked away because he found out that she cheated.
Yeah, of course. Like any
person
would want to walk away because, they did something wrong. And, some people would want to fight for it and some people don't. And I think it's funny because in Issa's situation where she wants to work it out. Yeah. Oh, Issa, where she wants to work it out. It, like you said, it was hard for her to not only adjust but also trying to be on the dating scene again. Mm-hmm. Where on Lauren's side, it was a lot easier on his end, where he was easy to hook up with girls
because he's a good looking guy. Like he would like hook up with like the waitress or the bartender. And I think for him too, he finally had like a job. He was working at a tech company. He had his own apartment. Like I think for him, he was finally like getting his feet like on the ground, as you would say.
Yeah. So for like all the relationship couples out there, no, like, you know, you shouldn't rush your judgment based on, you know, the struggles that they're going through. Mm-hmm. In case of like Lawrence, where he was unemployed for a bit.
Yes, definitely.
And she felt, you know, she had like a different feeling towards him because it's like he was a bum.
Right. I guess I want to mention like the irony of, I don't know if I think it's season 3 when Issa decides to move out of the apartment that her and Lawrence were living in, and she was bumming it on Daniel's couch. Like I would have thought she would crash at Molly's apartment.
Yeah, like your best friend.
Or go back home to your parents, but she ended up at Daniel's, which is so funny because like he would be bringing home girls and like be fucking them, and Issa's just like on the couch.
Yeah, just hearing it.
Yeah. But I feel like with them, I think they never really got to a point of like being exclusive.
Yeah.
Or like it just didn't feel like,
or even being serious.
Yeah. It just felt like a hookup and like almost
or
like
friends with benefits.
Yes. And so I think after that, Daniel kind of like disappeared once all that shit hit the fan, and that's when Nathan comes into the picture. I don't really recall like how it all happened, but
it was through the Uber ride.
Oh yes. And then he got into a fight with another guy who was like hella high.
Yeah, and he was defending her honor pretty much.
Yes. I remember that. And then they went to like that taco place.
Yeah. But let's not spoil everything. Okay, let's not tell everything.
Got it. So Issa now meets this super light-skinned, really good-looking guy named Nathan. They're talking, they're feeling each other. They basically they end up dating. But I think part of their relationship was it just felt as if they weren't fully in, if that makes sense. And I think that in large part has to do with the fact that Issa didn't fully move on from Lawrence. Like I think, you know, at the back of our mind, it was just like Lawrence is the person that she wants to be with. And so he was almost kind of like the rebound.
But do you think they the way they left things, do you think they had that closure?
Who? Lawrence
and
Issa?
Issa, yeah. Because if they didn't have the right closure, that's the reason why she might not have moved on, or she's just deeply in like love with him. Where
I don't think it was the right closure, because so when we kind of like think back at the timeline, they're together. She's unhappy. It seems like there's a lack of communication between the two of them. And then all of a sudden she runs into Daniel, and then she hooks up with Daniel at the recording studio. And then she goes back, and then all of a sudden Lawrence is like trying to look at engagement rings, and like all she can keep thinking about is like, oh my God, I fucking cheated on him.
Yeah.
And so when, you know, she realizes she wants to continue working it out with Lawrence, then Lawrence finds out, and then it's like too late. So of course the breakup was sour, because I think she wanted to continue. She was hoping that he would stay and work through it, and that's not what
for however how long they were with. You know, they were together 5 years, and she was hoping that, you know, her one mistake didn't lead to like their end of their relationship, pretty much.
But it did, and obviously again it was sour, and you know, because they were also in the same circle of friends, I mean, they were bound to run into each other.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like awkward-ish, but I mean that's kind of just how it goes. So I do want to again say there's going to be a major spoiler alert, but for me, I kind of felt that Lawrence and Issa were going to be together. I think they just kind of needed space from each other to really like appreciate each other.
Yeah.
Because I think they both lost themselves in a way of like, she was like not happy with her career. She was not happy with where they were in their relationship. And then he was like unemployed. And so I think both of them fucking other people, dating other people, you know, seeing their friends' lives evolve, it kind of pushed them towards each other. Because I think in the end, their breakup was never really like like mutual, right?
Yeah.
Because the first breakup was obviously she wanted to work it out, he didn't. And then when they rekindled again, everything was all good. And then all of a sudden there's like this bomb of like, oh, so-and-so's pregnant, right? Lawrence comes to Issa. It's like the finale of season 4. And basically it's like, Condola's pregnant and she's keeping the baby.
Yeah. But going back to what you said earlier about how like you had a friend that tell you about the 80-20 rule, do you think with them going their separate ways and, you know, like fucking other people, and they soon realized that, you know what, that 20% that I was missing, they came to realize that I should have stayed with my 80%.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. But that's like, going back again, like that also, I wouldn't say that 80% happened to us, but more of like having that break, because that happened to us where we're like spending too much time together in the beginning of our early dating stage, where we were constantly always together and we didn't give enough time for each of us to do our own thing and, you know, have our own, you know, you can say life, right? But we always choose to just always be together and doing things together. And I think that made us, you know, like kind of got tired and just kind of almost grew apart, you can say.
And I think that's what was going on with them. And I think when they finally were doing their own thing, right? Like Issa starting her own company. What is it? I Got Y'all? No. I Got Y'all's the first place she worked.
Block or something. I don't know.
Anyway, so
block party.
Yeah.
Like that.
So now like Issa has her own business. She's had this big block party. She's become successful. When you kind of like go down, you know, the years. And then same thing with Lawrence. He's working at a tech company. He gets a job in San Francisco, but then he moves back to LA because he wants to be there for his son, this and this and that. And it's like every challenge that they faced kind of pointed them back to one another, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like they came back better.
Yeah.
Right?
So they had that separation where they grew personally.
And professionally.
And professionally, yeah. I'm sorry, and I think that helps out with
absolutely,
not only themselves but also their relationship as well.
Absolutely.
Because it was never like a sour ending, right? Where it's like someone's fighting. It's like, you know, f you this, and you know, like how normal, you know, like bad breakups would be, and it's like, oh, I hate you, and everyone, you know, it wasn't like that case with them.
Yeah,
it was more like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing, you do your own thing.
Yeah,
and if we cross path, we cross path.
I kind of want to rewind a little bit of the storyline, because there was a point where this is when Issa and Nathan were dating, and then Tiffany had announced that her and her husband were going to move to Denver because he accepted a job there. And so there was a scene at the going away party where basically Lawrence, he has Issa to the side and he's like proclaiming his feelings, saying like, I still love you. But Nathan overheard because he was there, and it's just like, it was a little messy. It was not the time or the place to have that conversation.
Yep.
And I think all of us can relate to that, not necessarily in relationships, but there's been so many instances where people just be having conversations and it's like, this is not the time or the place for that conversation. Like if that is a one-on-one conversation, y'all need to have that on your own time. Like y'all need to text each other, call each other and be like, hey, can we, you know, meet up just for 10, 15 minutes to get this off my chest? Yeah. And so that's kind of the breaking or the end of Nathan and Issa's story, because it kind of like reassured his feelings of like, I can't do this because the girl that I'm interested in is
still in love with the ex. Yeah. And it's like heartbreaking because, and we know how Nathan feels about, you know, Issa.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes when
nobody wants to be the second choice.
No. But also, you know, you love someone so much, you kind of have to let them go. As well, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, again, no one wants to be the second choice. And I know with girls and guys, we don't want to be the second choice. Yeah. You know, especially the women's side where they want to be the only choice. Right.
I mean, I thought that Nathan and Issa would last a little bit longer, but I mean, I think everything kind of worked out. And I will say the finale for me was very like perfect in the sense of it just felt right. The way that
perfect ending or
yeah. Like there's a lot of shows like when it's the series finale, I'm like, that's it.
The ending sucks.
Yeah, I'm like, that was fucking bullshit. Like to watch something for like 4 or 5 seasons and then be hella disappointed. Like, I was not disappointed at all in the finale. Like, I feel like it wrapped up everyone's storylines perfect. Like, Kelly is with a dude, she's pregnant. Tiffany and her man are pregnant with their next kid. Molly ends up marrying that guy. Torian,
yeah.
Torian?
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Someone that she's not...
She didn't probably assume that she would fall in love with.
Yeah, like someone that's not in her standard, you could say, right?
And then, like, for me, the perfect ending... Because, okay, so there was scenes in season 5 where, like, Issa would daydream about her future. Like, she daydreamed about having this nice house, and then Nathan was there. And then she dreamed about having her own company with Crenshaw, who was, like, a designer. Obviously, in reality, that kind of happened, but it happened slightly different because the way that it wrapped up her and Lawrence is that her and Lawrence are together in a beautiful home. His son is there, who's like 5 or 6 years old now. And then Issa's driving a nice car. She got her own office. There was employees there. So obviously her company like really like blew up and became more successful. Molly's married on the honeymoon in Greece with Torian. And it's just... Oh, and Kelly now works at the firm with Molly. So it's just like everything wrapped up so well. And I just felt like it was the ending that I was happy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I felt good about it.
It was like it was like a full circle.
Yeah.
But then the ending of the full circle was like a positive outcome, right? Because like, again, everybody grew.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't just like, oh, we're back here again.
Yeah.
From, point A to point B, now back to point A. But it's more like, point A to point B to like point Z, I guess. And, it worked out for everyone. But,
I mean, one storyline that I want to go back to is Lawrence and Candola. So they were dating. Candola says that she's pregnant. And at this point, her and Lawrence are not together. He's back with Issa. And there were a lot of moments where, once the baby was born, it was cringy to watch. It was cringy to watch the way that Lawrence and Candola acted. Because I, in a way, felt that Candola was, like, not allowing Lawrence to have the opportunity to be there for his son. And, like, she would always be like, oh, I need to hold him. Or, like, I don't know. I just felt like she was kind of, like, taking out her frustration
on him
and like doing it the wrong way. Like instead of having a conversation, her first instinct is to take the baby away from Lawrence.
Yeah, and I feel like at that time she's putting herself first instead of the baby first, right?
Absolutely.
Because she's like, again, taking that out on him and
punishing him,
and but in a sense she don't realize that she's punishing the kid as well.
Yes. And so, and there was, I don't know if it was, I think it was Tiffany's daughter's first birthday party, and then Candola and Lawrence had a fucking argument, like in front of people, because of the, I think he fed the baby something.
Like solid food.
Yeah, and then she got hella mad.
She was like, and he was like,
the doctor said that
it was
can...
fine. To introduce solid food.
And the reason I want to touch on that is because I think that's super relatable. Like, obviously, me and Jason are not parents. We don't have parents from previous relationships, but like we know people who have had, kids and are not with the baby mama or the baby daddy. And so, it's really just about being fair as co-parents. And I think it's hard in the beginning when a lot of emotions are involved.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I just find it's kind of ironic that she needs help with the baby, but she's pushing him away.
But then later on, things completely switch.
But if you think about like now in today's society, it's like women who gets pregnant either by choice or by accident or whatever, and they, the number one thing is they want the baby daddy to be there, but sometimes the baby dad don't want to be involved.
Yeah. But she gave him that option. She said you can be involved as little or as much as you want, which I think is fair.
It was fair, but then I think it was unfair that she was punishing the baby because of what he did. It was like a nasty revenge.
It was very toxic in my opinion.
Not healthy for sure.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they kind of like, figured their shit out and it worked out for everybody. And it's kind of funny and ironic. I don't want to use any names, but I feel like if I just say certain things, it might already give it away for people that have known me. But I do want to mention that there is actually somebody I know that's been in a situation kind of like Issa and Lawrence, because someone I knew as a young girl from my school was dating. It was a guy and a girl. They were dating each other for a while, and then they broke up. And then the girl, the female, she ends up dating someone else, gets pregnant with this dude. So they have a daughter, and then they end up breaking up. And then this female, she actually ends up back with the previous boyfriend. And so this was like years ago. Like I think I was still like in grade school. But after, you know, the breakup with the first guy and then getting pregnant with this other guy, you know, the fact that like her and the first guy ended up together, like they're now married, they now have 2 kids together. So now there's the 3 kids together. They have a house, like they have a family. And so, you know, if people are meant to be together, they're meant to be together. They're going to come back to each other with whatever challenges that are thrown at them. And obviously it's not ideal to like be with someone for hella long and then they unexpectedly get pregnant. But again, if you love that person, at the end of the day, you're gonna want to be with them and you're gonna love their child.
But if you're in a toxic relationship, that's a completely different story. And you know, if it's too toxic for you, then you know you should definitely find a way out when it's, you know, when it's safe.
Is there anything else about the show or any relationship? I'm trying to think.
I feel like going back to like how they were together in the beginning, when, you know, like when she cheated on Lawrence. Sorry, Terrence. Lawrence. Lawrence.
Where did you?
I don't know. Lawrence. And how Lawrence just wanted to leave and, you know, pretty much just give up easily. And I feel like in today, where I feel like a lot of people do give up easily.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, if I'm not saying that you should always forgive that person if that person cheated on you, but I feel like you should always outweigh the good and the bad, and decide if it's something that you want to continue and continue on, or if not, then you know it's right to walk away. But I feel like today a lot of people do give up easily.
Absolutely. Oh, actually, one more talking point that I did want to go over is when they showed a glimpse into Tiffany's story. So again, Tiffany's the friend, the light-skinned friend who ends up moving to Denver, and she's the first of them to get pregnant. And there was kind of like a storyline of postpartum and depression and like feeling alone, because I think she had like left to just like, you know, have some time for herself, but then she didn't even like communicate with her husband, so nobody knew where she was. They were looking for her. They were like looking at security footage at like the taco place, like all this crazy shit. But it was a moment to have Tiffany's character be so vulnerable and show that part of mental health and women who are pregnant or who are new mothers, because, you know, although Issa's character is not like the pregnant one, but I just love, again, how they put real life situations into the show, and it's not like exaggerated. It really is real. Like postpartum is real. Again, I'm not, you know, pregnant, I don't have a kid, but just to show that raw part where, you know, women can be in this headspace of like detaching from their friends when they shouldn't be, or they just feel like they're not themselves, or they need extra support, or, you know. So if you have any friends out there or relatives that are newly pregnant or new moms, you know, check in with them. Just a simple text or ask them how they're doing. And I think they'll really appreciate that, because we don't know what
they're going through.
And the thing about postpartum is like, it's not obvious. Like it's not written on their face. Like, I have postpartum depression.
Yeah. And that goes with any depression. Yeah. It's not written on your face. But I feel like even if you don't have postpartum, or if you're not a mom, I feel like that's what goes out to everyone, that you know, it's fine to drift away from your friends, and it's fine to just be alone in your space. But if you do need help, say you need help.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are afraid to open up. And also, you know, for people that you're surrounded with, it's also hard for them to read your mind. So I think, in a sense, if you do need help, you know, it's okay to reach out. It's okay to just say, hey, I'm stuck in this situation or predicament or whatever, and I need help getting out of it. And I'm sure your friends will definitely help you out. You know, instead of just battling yourself, you're battling with, you know, with other people there to support you.
Yeah. So it was nice to kind of see that part of the show, or like be a part of the show, because again, I felt like most of the show is like, you know, about your career, about like relationships and dating and insecure. And I think one of the biggest questions that was asked at the end of the series is Issa secure, right? Because the title of the show is Insecure, because obviously she was insecure in her relationship. She was insecure at her job. So she finally left and she's finally doing something that she loves. She was in an unhappy relationship. Now she's back with this person. So is she secure?
No. And I feel like...
No?
I don't think...
At the end of that...
I don't think she's... I don't think someone will... Being someone who's going through insecurity, I don't think there is going to be a time where it's like you're fully secure, because there's always going to be something in the back of your head, right? Same as jobs, right? Like, will there always be pressure or stress? Yes. There's always going to be stress no matter what. If things don't go your way, there's going to be stress.
Yeah.
If things don't turn out the way that you envision, you know, your insecurity will kick in.
Yeah. But I do want to say, I think from season 1 up until the end of season 5, I feel that all of the characters have become secure in their own individual stories, because, you know, you have Molly, who's married, who in the beginning was like so picky, was always trying to find something wrong with the guy. And so now you see her close this chapter of her life of like, I'm married. I'm like a one-man kind of gal.
Yeah. I would say they all had a happy ending.
Yeah, for sure. I think Issa got her, you know, her nice house. She got her dream job. She has her own company.
Yeah. And then she's back with Lawrence.
Yeah.
Which is what she wanted in the first place.
Yes. From the very
But
beginning.
it took trials and tribulations to get where she's with today,
absolutely.
or at today. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode is like the wind down of our version, minus us having wine.
Yeah, and it's all relatable because we've gone through it.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone through pretty much majority, if not all of the scenarios that happened.
We've experienced?
Yeah, we have experienced.
Oh, yeah.
We totally experienced.
There's a lot of stuff that was
yeah.
relatable. And not just for like me too. Like I feel like even with my friends that watch the show, or like family members that watch the show, I think all of them can say that there's been different scenarios that they've, you know, experienced or related to. And again, that's what I love about the show, is the fact that it's not this over exaggerated storyline. Like it really is real life. It's not like, you know, oh, that happens in real life. Because I'd be feeling that way with other shows. I'm like, does that really happen in real life? Like, but you know, this was a really great series, and I'm hoping maybe there's a spin-off of some sort, or maybe a new show by Issa. So I guess we'll just find out.
Yeah, but keep in mind, those fairy tales do happen rarely.
Yeah,
but not often.
Yeah,
and the Insecure TV series is more relatable to real life situation for us.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Catch us on the next episode. I don't know when that will be, but bye.